last episode, we made it to Asgard, but what we discovered here was quite troubling. And the fact that we had single-handedly caused the destruction and collapse of Asgard. But it was not done under our own free will. No, we were controlled by none other than Nidhogger. But now that we have raised ourselves from literal hell, we can now rebuild, or at least try. And our first step towards doing that is by crafting Draconic Ember. But Draconic Ember is no easy task. We must find, hunt, and raise a dragon of our own in Midgard. After doing all of this, we must craft a forge made from the scales of fallen dragons. To build this forge, we are going to need tons of dragon forge bricks of whatever type we choose, and this is going to require tons and tons of dragon scales. And ultimately, we will be able to build this 3x3 multi-block that is the Dragon Forge. But to fire the Dragon Forge, it's even more work, because we need to find either a tier 4 or tier 5 dragon, and it needs to also be a female dragon. And upon killing it, we'll drop an egg. However, these dragons are not surface-dwelling dragons. Tier 4 and 5 dragons are typically found underground inside of dens, which is going to make our search for them quite difficult. But I do have a tip at least for being able to locate some quite quickly. Normally, these dens are located between Y levels 8 and 50, and the dragons are biome specific. So if you're wanting to find a fire dragon, well, you're going to need to look in warmer climate biomes and colder climate biomes, for example, for the ice ones. And well, for the lightning dragons, well, these spawn in really weird places. For example, they spawn in savannas, badlands, and also jungles, which is also where you might want to look for the fire dragons. However, that is where you will find the lightning ones. So those are definitely going to be removed from the list when hunting for the fire dragons. Now in this pack particularly, we don't have a lot of tools to help us specifically locate where these dens are. We don't have any add-on mods that add eyes and things like that to help us locate. So we're going to have to use some other, well, methods. For example, our minimap. And so I have mined down into Y level 32, which is right about sort of in that nice medium location. And when we open our map, we should be able to see everywhere that we have rendered in thus far. And we should be able to hopefully spot underground dens. These areas right here dotted with gold and copper, these are all going to be large dragon dens, which there is a surprisingly large amount of them nearby, which is a little bit horrifying, because normally these dragons would deal a ton of damage to the world by coming out of the den. I think that might be disabled in this pack, but yes, this is also an ice den, and I think these are more of the, well, at least these should be fire dragons, I think, that are just right nearby. And so I can click on here, and what I should be able to do is set a temporary waypoint. And I'll mark temporary waypoints on all of these locations here in the world where a den resides. So just the few that I've marked thus far, I mean, is probably going to be more than enough for our adventures. Now, another tool that can help us get to these dens quickly is probably going to be a destruction catalyst. And there is an upgraded form of this, which is the catalytic lens, which is even bigger. With this lens, for example, it should be able to break a 3x3 when clicked by default, but if we charge it, it should be able to break a 3x3 much further. And if we charge it even further than that, it can break a 3x3 that goes significantly further down. And so I should be able to keep doing this. Well, if there wasn't obsidian in the way, because for some reason it can't break obsidian. But here we are. This is the dragon's den, or at least a dragon's den. But this dragon den has nothing in it, unfortunately. And that's the thing. We are going to hopefully find some, but not all dens may have dragons in them, unfortunately. Thankfully, though, this dragon den just led straight to another dragon den. And this one does have a dragon in it. And which, yes, it does not break blocks, which is very, very nice. And so we can keep it contained and trapped inside of here. And well, I've just got to kill the dragon somehow. Yes. Try my best not to die myself. There we go. I think we've almost killed it. Perfect. And this is a big dragon. Now, some dragons you can kind of tell. I can't really tell right off the bat if this is a female dragon or not, but we will be able to find out. It is a fire dragon, though. And so, with an empty hand, we need to click on this. And this is going to grant us the most amount of dragon scales. These larger dragons drop a lot of dragon scales. And so, all of that dropped. This must have been a male dragon. Which is the good ones to actually get the scales we're going to need. But I unfortunately did not get the egg. We still have to find a female one. Now I'm finding a rather large amount of lightning dragons. Like it says lightning dragon here, lightning dragon here. There's a fire dragon over here. I also see another lightning dragon. So we may be luckier farming specifically for lightning dragons. This might be the way to go, because I am able to take these guys out quite quickly. Let's see, is this a female though? That is something that I have no idea. And it was not? Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm finding a significantly larger amount of lightning dragons. This is so good. Okay, so we may end up making a lightning forge. Now, this was a much smaller dragon. This one also has 3 horns off the side. So this must have been closer to a tier 4, and this was a female because we ended up getting an amethyst dragon egg. Some of these dragons are huge. That is a beautiful, huge dragon here. I love the color on this one too, like purple. Oh, that's awesome looking. But yes, they stand no chance, even though they have huge health pools. Stand no chance at all against the Elf Blade. Oh, I have no idea how many items I'm going to need, but I do know we need a lot of dragon scales. So I'm trying my best to take out as many of these as possible so I have as many scales on me to be able to make this forge. I do know it takes like over 200 plus scales. I think this one is also female, having the 3 sort of horns on the side. And this one is a blue lightning dragon, which would be really cool too to also hatch. Yes, and we did get a dragon egg of this type. Even more dragons. Yes, I think this is also another female. By the way, I think male dragons do drop more scales, so something to kind of keep in mind. I think, though, this is a female dragon of that other type, which is the only other egg, I think. I think there's 4 different types, though, for electric. No, this is not a female. Or it is a female. No, maybe it's not. I really have no idea how to tell at this point. Also, while I was down here hunting for dragons, I figured I might as well also grab some of this mithril ore that we can find. This is from Ice and Fire, allowing us to craft some pretty powerful gear, honestly. You know, as if we weren't powerful enough. Now, I know you probably want to see this, but the catalytic lens, the other tool that I said that was really powerful. Yeah, this one is quite literally ridiculous, as in it can clear areas very, very far out. And on top of that, you can use it to farm stuff that you want. Just keep it in your inventory and then, yeah, just clear an entire area out. Now, I do say this is powerful and all fun, but in reality, you also have the RF Tools Builder and many other things that can just directly farm items directly out of the ground. So is it all that powerful? I mean, kind of. Depends on what other mods it's combined with. Back home, I probably want to make sure that these are tucked perfectly away and store them inside of my my tablet. I do not want to accidentally right-click that in the base. Now that I'm back home, it is time for the fun part, hatching one of our dragon eggs. And now each dragon egg does require very specific conditions. For example, the electric dragon egg, like the one I have here, well, that one requires thunderstorms to be active in order for it to actually hatch. Fire dragons, for example, I mean, you place them literally inside of fire. And then the ice dragons, you should be able to place them into water and then it will turn to ice. Depending on the dragon type you choose, once the dragon egg starts shaking, you know that it's working. And so for me, I've built a little pin here so that way I can place my dragon egg down. And nothing special is going to happen right now because the conditions haven't been met. By the way, once the dragon hatches, the person who placed the egg down is the person that the dragon will be tamed to. Now, in order for me to make this dragon start hatching, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to break these 2 connections over here by breaking the receiver signal. And then I'm going to activate a cloud shaping ritual. This is going to allow me to modify it, and instead of just causing rain, Well, we're actively going to cause a thunderstorm by giving it lapis. Once I click this, the weather should begin to change. And this is when this thing is going to start rocking as soon as a thunderstorm has been initiated. Which should happen very, very soon, by the way. As soon as this ritual has finished its task, it's almost done. And there we go. Perfect. And now you can see this is rocking violently. Now, to make this happen really fast, we would normally have to wait like 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. But if we want to make this fast, well, we can actually speed it up with a Watch of Flowing Time. So I'll place down the Dark Pedestal, place the Watch of Flowing Time on here, and I would assume that this will tick accelerate this. At least I think it would. But now I just have to kind of wait. And if the thunderstorm, by the way, goes away, well, it's just a matter of reactivating another one of the rituals. And I was starting to work on a little bit of project expansion when this thing actually hatched. So we did have to go through 2 phases, and I don't think that the Watch of Flowing Time even helped with it at all. But now all I need to do is pick it up. So I can use something like the Dragon Horn, and I believe if you click on it after feeding it, we got to get it up to full health. The Dragon Horn should allow us to pick it up, and the command staff should allow us to do certain things. So for example, dragon is staying. We now have it setting, and then I think it's got to get up to at least a certain tier before we can really do anything with it. Okay, so now it is at 70 health, 80 health. Aha, and now I'm able to pick it up by shift right clicking. It's at least stage 1 now. I have the dragon, I want to level it up, but I did want to show this. I've made it all the way up to fading matter tier at this point, which means we're getting really, really close, to being able to make like final stars and make a true access to our EMC power. It would be so much nicer than using this applied module back here, because if we get access to the transmutation interface, a lot really changes. Any new thing that we put in our applied energistic system will be automatically turned into EMC if it's EMCable, saving us a ton of space, but also new things just get learned this way. Since I started on that project expansion grind, I actually went ahead and got a little bit carried away, and I'm already on tier 15 now, Power Flowers, which shouldn't take very long at all to do. And now I'm also working on getting all of these set up. So now I've got the gargantuan star. This thing is ridiculous. All of this stuff is honestly ridiculous. But getting access to that one item would be really nice. So there we go. I think that's the last one, the gargantuan star omega. I don't think it goes any higher than this. I don't think I'm quite ready to make a bunch of like final star, like fully completed setups, but what we can get access to, I do believe, and I think I've already got enough, is to actually make that transmutation interface, which I think would be really, really nice at this point. Now, final star shards, they do not have EMC, but these I do believe are fully filled up versions of this. So this is something that we have to keep in mind too. Let's just go ahead and check. These are colossals. Okay, maybe they're not fully filled up. Maybe it's just having those set up and then that gets combined. Aha. Okay, so it doesn't have to be. It's just to make the star shards. And so I need 4 of these final tier 16s, and these, as you can see, do not have EMC. So these are things we will have to craft. Thankfully, though, it will become a lot easier to craft things like this once we actually have the transmutation interface. With all the shards, there's the final EMC links. Oh, that is so nice to gain access to, by the way. These are absolutely unlimited on their transfer rate, which is really good for automation, but this is going to be even better because we can now use this to make the transmutation interface the final tier. This just requiring 1 more final star shard, and then all of this combined together to make the transmutation interface. Yes, very, very nice. And then what I want to do now is I want to remove this module. So in removing this module, it's probably best to use a wrench so we don't break anything else. So I'm going to shift right click, pop this off, and now all we have to do is, well, change just a few things. So now inside of here, we should no longer have patterns for any of these EMCable items. As soon as I put this on with a storage bus, things are really going to change. So let's craft a storage bus real quick. And then I'm going to plant this right here, place the storage bus on it, and then set this to a priority of like 20 for right now, a really high priority. And when I open up my terminal, now we don't have to craft anything that has EMC. If it has EMC, it just exists in our system now. The only downside with this is you have to be careful. Whenever you place in now books, for example, like if you have any enchanted books or things like that that you throw into this system, well, it will convert it into EMC and you'll actually lose that enchanted book. So something to note about having this on your main system. Anything, for example, that has EMC. For example, if I put this diamond stick in here, it is going to just convert it into EMC as if I had put it into my tablet. And the same thing is going to happen for anything, including this that has enchants on it. If I put it in there, well, it's going to wipe those enchants, unfortunately. Now, if you wanted to prevent that, you could set this to only be an export, so it only pulls items out. Something, though, that could help us here is by using an inverter card. So if we use an invert card, this should invert this from being a whitelist to a blacklist. And I'm thinking if we put an enchanted book in here, that might prevent it from EMCing it. For example, this one has knockback, sharpness, things like that on it. So if I was to put this back in here, this book would disappear. But by putting this on here, this will prevent enchanted books. So at least that problem solved. And then same thing should go for like our main tools. Probably recommended to put them inside of this list. You can use expansion cards to increase this list, and this will prevent you from accidentally EMCing something you don't want to be EMC'd. After getting a little bit carried away with the AE2 system, it's time to get back to the dragoning. So yes, here is our little pet dragon. Beautiful, right? Very, very nice. And so what's needed for this is just to keep feeding it until it gets up to a tier 3 level, which as of right now is going to be pretty hard to see, but eventually it'll be big enough to where we can ride, and that is where we need it to be. So we'll see. Currently it has 200 health, and yes, at this point, I can now ride it and fly it around, which is beautiful. And also, if you use R, which is the default key, you should be able to use its attack, which you can see right here is lightning for me. Another cool thing, X, if you're flying up in the air, which holding space is how you go up. And then if you want to get down, holding X is actually how you fly down. And so you'll land on the ground and you're ready to go. So for example, rip this sheep. This sheep is now gone. And to get off the dragon is, of course, hitting shift, which is very nice. And I love how this dragon just looks like it's always sleeping. But yeah, we should be able to take all of these guys out. No problem whatsoever. Goodbye and good riddance, right? But we're also taking a little bit of damage. So to avoid more damage, let's go over here and maybe give this some armor. This is also, by the way, where the command staff is really handy because we can set it to escort, wandering, or staying, and I typically prefer to have it staying. Now it should heal itself, I believe, over time, but you can also feed it, and it's not only going to make it larger, but yes, it's also going to heal it. Now I think it's time for us to start working on crafting that Dragon Forge. We're going to be making the lightning version of this, so I am going to try and craft up all of my scales that are related to the lightning dragons. And by the way, you can tell what dragon scales you can use by seeing what hovers here. So for example, amethyst, copper, black, and also the electric blue. These are the 4 that you can actually use for the lightning forge. We should be able to make any type. It just happens to be the dragons I found the most. This is where things get a little expensive. So the first 8 set that we make, we're going to need to use to actually make the core of this setup. Then we're going to need another set of 4 because we need this to make the aperture, which is the thing we're actually going to have our dragon breathe into. And with all of our dragon bones, we're going to need to make a set of 8 because this is going to go in all corners of the forge. And with these items, we can start to define and actually lay out what this forge is going to look like. With this, we can start to pull out even more of these bricks that are incredibly expensive and start to lay out the base. Now in the center, we're going to have the core, and then on one of the sides, we need to place in the aperture. Then we need to surround the entirety of this layer with the rest of these bricks. So we'll just keep continuing crafting as needed. Otherwise, you're going to probably make too much. Now on the top layer, this is again going to be the bone blocks. And then finally, we're going to need the 5 that is going to cross here. So another section of 2 in hopes that we have enough of the dragon scales, which I think we do because we can mix and match. And so there we go. That is the final bit. So another set. So we will have some left over. But once we place this final block in, this is now a fully functioning forge. And you can see this is the face of it right here. And there is the interface where you put the item and also the bottle of blood. By the way, this is a dragon that really loves nighttime. Its eyes opened up at night. I just noticed that. Interesting. With the forge ready to go, we now need to go back to the Draconic Ember and figure out exactly what is needed for this to function. Now, if you had a fire forge, this is the one you use. If you have the ice forge, it's the one you use. But this is the one we need. So we need to take our dragon steel ingots, which we do have, and a little bit of lightning blood, which you get from after you take out a dragon. You click a bottle on it to get its blood instead of scales. And we take this and we should be able to make this item. So I'm pretty excited about this. Let's hop on our dragon and let's head down to the forge. Oh boy. And then I will get off of my dragon near the forge. And then inside of the forge, I can place these items in. And then I can manually activate this by being on the dragon near the forge. I'm not hitting any buttons. It's just doing it, which is really, really cool. So I do have to stay on the dragon, I do believe, but it is just actively doing this, which is incredibly cool looking. Once it has stopped breathing, you know that it has now finished, and I can let it rest because we have now made the Draconic Ember. That is pretty cool.
The first stone rises from the ruin. A small thing, perhaps, but the world tree itself grew from a single seed in the world. Build, Half-Blood. The 9 realms were made one stone at a time.
Very true. With this, we're granted 8 more Asgard skill points, which brings us to our next path, the Reconcentrated Azure Stone. This stone was once an emblem of the Azure superiority, which now serves only as a reminder of the sins I have committed. Infusing the Azure crystals into this stone will restore its former power and serve as the first step to restoring Asgard. Then it proceeds to tell us to craft the Reconcentrated Azure Stone and place it in any of the Bifrost Cradle pedestals. Interesting. What I think it means by the Bifrost pedestals are these things, the Wise Stone pedestals, which do exist here in Asgard. Things are getting very interesting. Now, it does look like each of these crystals require certain fluids for a null crystal to be dropped into, which is very interesting because null crystals do have quite a complex recipe here, requiring dragon steel aspectus, and also nether stars, and enderium, and empowered netherite, and even prismatic zirconium, all kinds of craziness. But luckily for us, null crystals have been dropped, and I haven't really used them to make weapons, and so I still have quite a few of the null crystals that have just dropped from the bosses. Or I guess in our case, they did drop specifically from Surtr. Now I have gone ahead and organized all of the fluids. For example, warped cryotheum for the ice, and then also crimson pyrotheum. Then we also have underworld solution, all for the nature's crystal, and then also unstable solution for the arcane, and abyssal dew for the celestial, and then life essence, which comes from blood magic here with the vampiric crystal, all making a whole lot of sense here. But these are a lot of these are just dropping the item directly into the fluid, which does seem kind of cool. Now, to make these individual fluids, these things typically require the prerequisite fluids. So it's going to require like some sky slime, also a mechanical heart, all of these interesting things that we're going to need, but like none of it being like super difficult. Like this is just taking an ancient core from embers and crushing it down on a dark steel block. Or like the nether fungal salts, for example, this just requiring us to have like moth and just cook some food. Now, I will say some of these fluids do have prerequisite fluids that are needed for them. For example, this needs mineral resin, very easy for us to obtain. Also, the other one, the crimson pyrotheum, needs pyrotheum, which we've technically already made and we're actually using for its cool features. And then we have nether sap, We're just going to need an arboreal extractor onto like Crimson or like Warped. I mean, that should generate quite quickly. And then Ghastly Lycerin, I believe that's how we say this, which takes a gassed bladder, and then we just need to squeeze it in a mechanical squeezer, or even a multi-servo press could do it. All of this, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to dive into potentially next episode. Now, speaking of this episode, I really want to also take a look at some of the new things that we have here with our skill points for Asgard. This tree is quite expansive, but we do get a lot of overheal nodes, which should give us extra hearts. There's also these dodge chances, which would be very powerful too, to avoid taking damage overall. Something though that I will suggest probably not taking, and I may not take them either, is going to be the extra reach. I really don't like extra reach, so I may not actually take these nodes. I'm gonna try my best to not take them. Everything else though would be really nice. For example, increase our ulti mine by 8 more blocks. All of these extra overheals, all of this stuff is good. Reach is one of those things that can actually become quite annoying. Unfortunately, to get to this overheal node, we would have to actually take this +2 in reach, which, like I said, I may not do. Reach is, like I said, just one of those things that can become very annoying very quickly. And even extending it like 2 blocks, I mean, we may take 2 blocks. 2 blocks wouldn't be all that bad, but it's really an issue when you go to break blocks, because you might accidentally overextend and break blocks that are behind certain blocks. You have to stand quite a bit further away to make sure you don't do that. By the way, to see the extra overheal, well, we do have to take damage, so I can just use the sacrificial knife to be able to do that. And now I have all of these hearts, and then it says +27, which is our bonus overheal hearts. Now, I still have to work on saving Asgard, but as of right now, I still have a dragon, and I really want to do something with this dragon. Now, I think I'm going to go with the name Thunder. I'm just going to call it Thunder, as I really think that's a cool name for it. And it is a male dragon, but we do need to get some armor on this thing. You know what? I've got to go with copper gear, because it is a lightning dragon, and I think just completely covering this thing in copper would be so sick, and is going to be incredibly conductive. So to add this armor to the gear, I think we have to open our inventory while riding the dragon, if I remember correctly. No, you shift right click to be able to open its inventory here. Perfect. And yes, we equip all of this onto it. That is such a cool cosmetic. And I do believe it also serves functional armor. And on the dragons, you can even add custom banners to it. That's pretty neat. Now, overall, we have many more trials to get through, and we're going to have to take all of the things that we have worked towards throughout this pack and ultimately combine them into some other special items that we're going to need along the way. So some things we are going to have to work towards is getting up to at least a tier 5 blood magic altar. We're also going to have to do a little bit more Ars Nouveau. Most of this stuff we've already got. A little bit more of the Malum, which we're going to get the Stellar Mechanism and all kinds of other fun stuff from Malum. And then we also need a Godforged Pearl. A little bit of grinding in the end, I believe, to be able to get this. That should be quite easy. The Occultism has been made so much easier to do. We also need to take on the dragon just a little bit more, because we are going to need a few more dragon hearts to be able to make a dragon core with Draconic. And also we need to get up to Draconic tier to be able to even assemble these items in the first place. And then we also look like we need to do a little bit of villager trading and also somehow get some echo shards as well. Like, all of this stuff is going to be required before we can fix Asgard. So there is still a whole lot to look forward to, and we're just getting started. So if you guys have enjoyed this series thus far and you look forward to future episodes, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button and ringing that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes just like these. And also, while you're at it, maybe consider becoming a member over here on YouTube. If you haven't already checked out the member section, you gain access to a ton of awesome perks over on our Discord, including world downloads and many other awesome things like the ability to screen share and fun things. And we hang out in the Discord all the time, so be sure to check that out. And guys, I think it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode, and that amazing thanks is going to go out to The Blueprint, and because it doesn't fit all in a line, Gamers. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. And with that, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.